Welcome back to BLOCKTV. It's time now for Blockchain on Booze, our time in the week when we can just take it back a little, calm down, maybe have a drink and discuss the big geopolitical topics facing the sphere this week. And we have with us hosting this week myself, Asher Westrop-Evans, and my special guest host, Oran Spitzer.
And of course, our lovely panelists here from left to right. We have Guy Zyskind, founder and CEO at Enigma, Or Lokay, vice president at BitTax, and Goldi, because he's cool just like Cher, CEO at First Digital Assets Group. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Guys, thanks so much for joining us. And so we're going to kick off this week with, I guess, a bit of a broad topic. We're going to ask the question, do geopolitical events as a whole, does the world of mainstream geopolitical finance really impact crypto markets? So we've got so much we can go through this week, whether it be Argentina electing a left-wing government that the whole world seems to think is going to crash their economy. We've got obviously the protests and chaos in Hong Kong. We've got trade wars raging around the world. We've got Venezuela still in ongoing crisis. Zimbabwe are facing a continued currency crisis. Does this have any impact on the crypto markets at all, or is this all just hot air and Bitcoin and other markets just do what they do? Who wants to kick us off? Guy, maybe you can start.
Sure. I think Bitcoin is still too small. So just to be clear, I'm a big Bitcoin bull. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to Bitcoin affecting like these kind of geopolitical events or vice versa, I don't think we're there yet. I think if you're looking, for example, at Argentina, like the average person there probably doesn't know enough about how to hold Bitcoin securely, how to transact, and would be very afraid to actually take his or her net worth and just move it into Bitcoin like on a whim. That's pretty much.
But now, we've been hearing for so long the narrative that Bitcoin is the safe haven, people saying now it's gone from risk on to risk off, people are happy to turn to it, but now we're hitting some genuine chance to prove itself, a bit of maybe not global recessions as of yet, but there are chances here and there to prove it. Is it happening?
I don't think this is the right test case to see, because this is local financial crisis or local lack of faith in the government. Obviously, Bitcoin is the right tool for having lack of faith in your government, but this is not the financial crisis that will tell us if there's really effect on Bitcoin price. Actually, Bitcoin is just going down for the moment. So I don't think we saw what we need to see in order to make this decision.
So it's still the case we're waiting for that prime test case for it to really prove itself.
It hasn't.
But just kind of shifting gears here before we Goldi gets to take a crack at whether geopolitical environments affect Bitcoin. I mean, the story with Hong Kong today just came at headlines that people on average there are paying a premium now of they're paying $300 more than your average investor for Bitcoin. Surely you guys believe that's showing something, even though I get it all said that this isn't necessarily the use case for it, and I tend to agree with you. And I think if you go on the street and ask the average person if they know what Bitcoin is, you're likely to fall on a person who doesn't know, but there is something to this. What do you think, Goldi?
No, I actually agree with Guy here. I think that even $300 is a premium. It's not really a premium. Like really, if you go to where a lot of the cryptocurrencies are being bought today with credit card, for instance, you'll see a 10% premium that people are willing to pay. The fact that people are paying a $300 premium is not, I wouldn't say that it's because of geopolitical events. Furthermore, I would say that we were all hoping that Bitcoin is maybe attached to gold, right? Like the digital gold, sorry. And you see now gold is just rushing upwards, right? Gold is very bullish right now, but Bitcoin's not. And I think that, like Guy said, Bitcoin is just too small. When we find the correlation, we usually say in hindsight, oh, you saw this happen and then this happened, so it must be related. But it's really not. I mean, and I'm even more afraid, and this is, I would say that this is what's driving me to do more in this industry. I'm even more afraid that if really recession hits us, we're not ready as an industry to grab everyone as the next safe haven. There's no UI, there's no capacity in the market, there's no way for people to buy that amount of Bitcoin like people are buying gold today. So I would say no.
But let's get off the retail investors, for example. Let's talk institutions here. Do you think that institutions, even perhaps just as a hedge are going to really take this opportunity and maybe say, look, this is a bit of a high-risk environment. Maybe let's hedge with this asset class that, even if it is for the case that it's uncorrelated, that perhaps that's a potential place to store even relatively small amounts, which, given the fact that, Guy, as you said, is still such a small asset class overall, if a few big institutional players decide to put relatively small amounts of their portfolio in, that could have huge impacts on the market, couldn't it?
No, it could, and it should happen. And if I were like in an institutional, I would definitely bring this up, up the food chain. But the question is, I mean, as we're saying, it's not really happening yet, because institutionals, they're risk averse as they should be, and none of them want to be the first to come in. And when it comes to, again, solutions like custody and securely transacting the ecosystem, all of the solutions cannot yet cater to institutionals. We're actually starting to see the first solutions that can, but it's a work in progress, and that's probably going to take a few years. And that's without even talking about regulation. That's just talking on the technical aspect.
Do you have, do you have a specific timeline? Theorize, yes? I'm not asking you to kind of sign this with ink here, but a timeline for when things would progress in that way?
Well, I think technically, in the next 1 to 2 years, we're going to see a lot of advancements regarding more secure custody and more secure transactions. There's a technology that I've been, working on a lot, and a lot of other people in the space are working on, called MPC, which is probably going to be the next step to actually make this technically possible. But the big question is the regulation ready? And that I cannot answer.
Okay.
Well, I can answer.
Exactly. I was going to say, well, that might be a question for you.
Glad to be here. So in regulation-wise, we definitely see the 2019, it was a huge step regulation-wise. SEC is starting to figure out things. IRS is coming out with letters and enforcement. We are in the middle of trying to establish a regulation environment for cryptocurrency, and once it will be settled, and I believe until middle of 2020, depending on how pressure Libra will kick us. And then we will see that once Libra will be there, if they will be there, institutional will come.
I'm just posing this to you then, but even in the wake of, because I think the number one thing we managed to learn from the hearings is, that followed Libra, not necessarily Libra, but that also was a hearing that was major, I think, in seeing how they don't know, regulators don't know anything. And then the hearings following Libra kind of alluded to the fact that they were trying to figure it out. So even that being true, you still think that 2020
yes, I
would
do.
be a year where things go better?
I do. First of all, blockchain is the greatest thing for regulator. They have mainly two concerns, maybe three if you get the SEC about what's considered as security and what's not. But this is the side. This is key situation. I put this aside. The major two concerns are taxes and anti-money laundering. Both of them, Bitcoin is the greatest thing can happen to them because you can track, you can have deficiency alerts, you can really tell when something is missing, when each addresses went, where's the source, where does it end, how many hands it's transferred. So this is a gift for regulation blockchain. They just need to learn it and to embrace it. And I think they are just now looking for the way to do it. This is my input.
I mean, looking for a way to do it, but I guess that becomes the real question. And I want to direct this one at you, Goldi, and ask, do you think there is a reasonable time frame in which they will learn how to do it? I mean, there's this idea, I think, that everyone in the crypto sphere has, and that blockchain enthusiasts generally have, that this technology has a sense of inevitability to it, that people will eventually take the effort to learn it and understand it and develop it because of all the advantages it has, which I'm sure everyone in this room would agree with. But do you think regulators are necessarily thinking like that? And do you think they'll take those efforts to implement this new system when the one they've had for the past several hundred years, or maybe if we're talking safe haven assets for gold, several thousand years, it's worked pretty well up until now. Do we really need to update?
So I think regulators are faster to learn than we give them credit for. And it's usually the tax authorities, God bless them, that will never leave you and will learn as fast as they can to make sure that they get their tax. And I would say that the regulators are Or just told me that regulators are now asking for wallets, right? They're just directly talking about
Addresses.
wallets. But I'm more concerned about the timeline for institutions and enterprises. That's going to take 5 to 10 years. And that's really, we're all talking about institutions for 4 years now, maybe 2 years, for the better half of 2 years probably. But it's going to take a long time.
Beautiful segue into the SEC and news that we just received. So the United States Securities and Exchange Commission has once again delayed making a decision on 3 Bitcoin ETFs, exchange-traded funds. Are we surprised? And these proposals on Monday, including the proposed rule changes by Van Eck, Bitwise, which made a major buzz, and there was a lot of hype about that, and we'll share Phoenix, Bitless, citing the same thing for all 3 of them, by the way. Basically, the gist is we need more time. What could possibly actually be the reason, do you guys think? Who wants to take it?
I think the ETF will be approved when you have institutions already in, and when the market just doesn't really care about the ETF.
Then why? Oh, you think the market doesn't? Because this
when
is
the market doesn't care about
time.
ETF, then is when the SEC will probably approve the ETF.
But this is the final time that they're able to kind of postpone this decision
on
these
these,
particular
right?
ETFs.
They've been doing these for years and years, right?
So ultimately, with these, do you think that any of these will be approved?
So obviously, I'm not a legal person. All I have to say and see is based on the last few years, and I'm pretty confident that they will just reject this, and you will see another application, and then they will postpone these. And until there comes a time when people are not talking about it as much because it's less relevant, and there's, I guess, less spotlight on the SEC itself, that's when I think it's probably gonna become approved.
But then, why delay again? Oh, if you can.
No, I really, I think they don't want to make this decision, and you know what? I can understand this. They have so much they did not figure out yet. But the real question is, who is still waiting for this to happen? Because if you want to get into Bitcoin or crypto, you can do that without this. So probably every major player that wants to get in, probably already in. I don't know, maybe Goldi can say better than me. But is really anybody still waiting for it to happen? Because you don't really need this in order to trade Bitcoin.
An ETF is a developed ecosystem.
Goldi is here.
Too.
Goldi is going to kill me soon.
No, I think Asher wants to say
I wanted
exactly
to lead
the
you
same
in, Goldi. Take it away, please.
No, but
you had thoughts brewing.
What you were going to say, obviously,
I
assume you're going to say that Or is 100% right, but the ETF is more for those investment managers that want to give something for their retail investors as an easy, more liquid tool to invest in something like I invest in gold through ETFs because it's easier than saving gold because I have a small house and I have no place in my house to store gold. But I don't think it's easy to get into Bitcoin today, by the way. Not if you're an institution at all, and not if you're an individual. And I think ETF would be an amazing step for that. But like Guy said, or you said as well, right now, it's only us in crypto. Not just this room, but basically there's about, 60, 70,000 traders out there. They don't care about the ETF, right? They're already trading. So that's why the market didn't move. That's why even if the ETF would actually be approved, it would only be like we're back to 12,000. Oh, we're back down to 10. It doesn't really matter. And I think that it will actually make a huge impact, like Guy said, once there's a lot of institutions already inside, then they can do something with this ETF. They can actually push it to clients.
But isn't there also a point that you build it and they will come? Like if we want to get this mass adoption, if we want to get these institutions there and we have these on-ramps available to them, even if it is for their retail clients, still isn't that another access point and another case for the guy to go up to the board and say, hey, let's start working with this, let's invest in this in our portfolio, let's develop this.
100%, but the reason it was not approved, to my honest opinion, obviously, because I don't really know, because the wire that I put in the SEC doesn't work anymore. So the only reason that I think they didn't approve it is that they know what we know. It's just not safe right now. Everything is still hackable. Custodians are not 100% safe right now, maybe 99 trillion nines, but not 100% safe right now. You can't reverse the transactions. It's still people's money, so they don't want to approve it. They don't have to.
I see what you're saying here, but then why work so hard? Bitwise worked so much in tandem with the SEC, supposedly, again, they're saying. But why work so hard and why play ball? The SEC played ball at the end of the day. Why play ball if you're intending on saying no? And then also, why drag this on? Why delay a few times? What could be the purpose for that?
Because they learn, they're learning, and again, they don't have an incentive, right? We always say that about regulators. They only have a negative incentive, right? They don't have a positive incentive. They're not going to get a cut out of the ETF's profit, but they're going to get blamed if people will lose their money. So they'll talk to everyone and they'll learn, and once it's too safe, they'll approve your ETF.
Once it's too safe, they'll then approve your ETF, which brings us, so where the US is kind of lagging, some would say, New Zealand seems to be having new developments. So New Zealand's Inland Revenue Department, again, we said tax people are the people where it all starts, that's where it all, had issued a statement for both legalizing and taxing salaries in cryptocurrencies that is meant to take effect on September 1st, fairly soon. So first question to all of you, would you accept your salary in cryptocurrencies?
I would,
Obviously.
at least some of it.
You would accept some of it?
At least some of it. But
Would
yeah.
you accept it all? Would you accept 100% of your salary in cryptocurrency?
Maybe for a while.
Okay. Or
I guess I would, but today there's a situation which you cannot liquefy it through a bank account, so it will be harder for me to live out of this,
But if you would live in New Zealand and you had like 5 sheeps, would you take your salary as a Bitcoin?
well, probably for the 5 sheeps, yeah.
5 sheep are worth a fair amount. Let's just be aware.
One
As an
camel.
Australian, I understand the
One
value
camel
of a
is what
sheep.
I'm giving you.
Okay, 1 camel for 5 sheep. That's all. Goldi, would you?
I would definitely get it, but with what Or said in mind, I would not be able to use it in Israel at all.
So then again, going on with kind of theorizing as we did before, as regulators are cracking down on crypto, we saw this with the SEC, we see it with the Senate and how they're treating Libra. Why would New Zealand then go ahead and start embracing crypto? You could call it that. Guy, do you have a response?
I mean, I think in general, any country that's probably not the US or China have some incentive to actually adopt these earlier on. I don't know if I'm a bit surprised that New Zealand is actually taking that mantle, and I'm not quite sure, like, you know, how much this is more of maybe a marketing play or like an actual valuable thing. But in general, if you're not the US, that's everyone is looking at, you probably want to try to adopt these technologies faster. So it's, I mean, they actually have an incentive to do it.
A bit of a first mover advantage sort of situation.
Yeah, I mean, look at this Estonia, right? Like, they usually, not just in Bitcoin, but like in general, they're trying to be like doing all the cutting edge, like e-voting, stuff like that. Like, if you're a smaller country, less like on the radar, and like whatever decisions you make have less of a global impact, then you probably want to have a first mover advantage.
Oh.
Well, the thing about New Zealand that I can call this Old Zealand, this is not really news, and this is actually not really embracing a cryptocurrency. Maybe it's the other way around, is my opinion. Well, what we can see here is just a way for what they're saying is a ruling that says if you get partial salary or bonuses in crypto, you will pay it as tax rate that says pay as you earn. Okay. For example, in 2014, the U.S. government, the IRS, says that if you in the initial, 2014, they say if you get part of your salary or your entire salary in cryptocurrency, it's income employees tax. So it's nothing new under the sun. But most of all, what I was very disappointed by this, because pay as you earn, it's only if the salary is if the crypto part of the salary is functioning as a currency. Now, if it swims like a duck, if it walks like a duck, so it's supposed to be a duck, but
It's
no.
a sheep. It's in New
It's a
Zealand.
sheep.
It's a sheep.
It always goes back
Exactly
to
what
the
I'm saying.
It's a
It's all
sheep
sheep.
because the New Zealand Tax Authority Commission has
not a
bothered to say this is not a currency. Furthermore, if anybody actually
said
reads this
Bitcoin is not a
it
currency?
says cryptocurrency is not a currency, it's an asset
Okay.
for tax purposes. It's also said that it's not legal anywhere, that it's not really a store of value in some cases, and it's also said that it's not considered as a payment in a lot of places. So it basically said I got the question, so I had to make the ruling, tax it as pay as you go. If it's not acting as a currency, tax it as BTF. But that's it. It's nothing new under the sun or under the ships. This is old news.
And then go for it.
Do you pay the tax in Bitcoin, or do you pay it like you have to liquidate it and then pay the tax?
You have to liquidate it through exchanges and without any lock of period. You just have to immediately liquidate it and pay it.
But then kind of throwing it forward, so some people are saying that this can be interpreted very broadly, as all very much elaborated on now, that potentially this could mean that you need to be paid in some sort of stable coin. Do you think that that's a right interpretation?
Well, it's one of the circumstances. You got three of them. You need to not have a lock of some of it. It has to be all liquid. It has to be able to either be traded in exchange immediately to fiat money, or to be stable to a stable coin. This is the three terms that it could be salary.
Okay, but so then I see how you said that this is kind of a backhanded way of dealing with cryptocurrencies, one could say. But then why make the move? We made the connection to Estonia earlier. Could New Zealand be trying to embrace crypto to potentially be a hub for crypto and blockchain?
If it
Goldi
does,
looks like he has a lot of feelings.
No,
on
no, I was laughing because how can, and I love New Zealand, it's one of the best countries I've never been to, and I think it's amazing, but how can they be a hub of anything if they're 8 hours flight from Japan is the closest neighbor, aside from Australia, obviously. But I mean, how can they be a hub? They just want to promote their sheep wallet, and I've been
they want to
saying
promote
that.
their sheep. So that's a hard no, I would say, from Goldi.
I would say it's a great PR stunt.
It's a great PR stunt.
Well, it's not even a PR stunt.
It's not even that.
He got the he just said that. The commissioner just said it in the letter. He got the question. He had to make the ruling. This is it.
So overblown. Why are we even talking about it? New Zealand is not going to be a center for anything other than sheep.
Yes.
Well, I don't know about the sheep.
No, I can tell you they've got a lot of sheep.
Cryptocurrency
Got
is
lots of
hardcore
sheep.
in
For
that.
cryptocurrency, not at the moment.
Okay, not at the moment.
More
Okay.
sheeps have made the news today than this news
Yeah, exactly.
in New Zealand.
So then, moving to a country that has the potential for something other than sheep, we talk now about China, which has had some interesting statements. A senior People's Bank of China official noted that they have in the works, ready to go. They've been supposedly working for the last 5 years on a digital currency. We won't necessarily say cryptocurrency, although the interpretations are still open, and we'll put this to the panel in a moment, but on a digital currency that they say they'll be able to roll out shortly. It's ready to go. Again, details are a little sketchy at this stage on what exactly this means, although they have stated it will be a two-tiered system, which of course means the People's Bank of China are on top, controlling everything as they do, commercial banks underneath, with a different sort of layer of access. What do you guys think? What does this actually mean? Is this a cryptocurrency? What are we talking about here? I mean, this is China after all. This isn't New Zealand.
No, this isn't a cryptocurrency, and I don't think anyone should be fooled. It's definitely not a cryptocurrency. If I'm putting the geopolitics aside, I mean, if you're thinking about China, maybe China is not the poster child to actually try to push this kind of innovation. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but I'm putting that aside. But as a cryptocurrency, no, it sounds like another just digitally minted national currency at best. And even there, I would be skeptic. You know, if I'm giving, let's say, the whole thing the benefit of the doubt, and as a technologist, then maybe I can get excited about the fact that, you know, this is not blockchain, this is not a cryptocurrency, but maybe and just maybe they're taking a lot of the, let's say, innovations made in the last few years in the space, and maybe they're taking some lessons from that and deploying them into what they're building right now. And we've seen a similar thing actually happen with peer-to-peer file sharing. So, you know, we had Napster, Kazaa, BitTorrent, all those. But that actually then launched like a 20-year academic effort to actually study these distributed systems, not necessarily decentralized. And that today is being used like everywhere. So Google, Facebook, AWS, all of the cloud systems that we have are actually using these technologies. Now, they are no longer peer-to-peer, but these advancements could have an impact. But again, it's not a cryptocurrency.
Impacts that potentially we might not even be able to see yet. But I want to pass this over to you, Goldi, and ask the question. the timing is interesting. You know, they say they've been working on this for the last 5 years.
Yep.
Now we come out in the midst of an escalation in the trade war, but also not that long after we get the big announcement of Libra and other things coming out. What do you think could be driving a decision like this? I mean, obviously you're not in the Communist Party, I don't believe, in China, but you know, use your crystal ball regardless.
So first of all, commenting about China is that I do not make any jokes about China. So, you know, because I know how the Chinese people react to this.
Absolutely.
Second of all is, of course it's not random. The Chinese people do nothing at random. They know exactly what they're doing, and this is probably part of a master plan to, I don't know, take over Libra or whatever at some point. But I don't know if it's not a crypto. I don't know if it's not a blockchain. I haven't seen the tech spec about it. It's super exciting that it's actually happened, and they say that there's going to be like a 2-year rollout right now. I think that if there's any Chinese Communist Party leader watching this is, I'm not trying to make a joke about China, but just in case.
This is deadly serious. His words should be taken literally. I am
deadly serious what I'm going to say. I think it's just a great means of surveillance for China. And I think that this is the main reason that they're doing this. And you know, you said it's a 2-tier system. The current Chinese monetary system is a 2-tier system, right? They have the currency that they use for the outside and the currency they use inside of China, and that's how they manipulate the currency. And now they can do it fully digital with just switching a few knobs. That's amazing for them. I'm interested to see actually what would be Trump's reaction to this. I don't know. I don't think we've seen that tweet by now.
No, I think there've been a few other things preoccupying him. Yeah. Christmas shopping, obviously, being a key and important one. But I mean, it's interesting to know. I mean, there's already WeChat, there's already Alipay, there's already all these digital currency elements that exist within China. Is this just renationalizing them, bringing the control back to the center?
Well, I think we should look at what is not in China. Mm-hmm. There is no Facebook, there is no WhatsApp. Chinese government is so friendly and not over obsessing anything. So this is one more way of the Chinese to micromanaging. And you know, they're smart. They instead, you know, all of the regulation we're saying that blockchain or digitalized, if it's not really blockchain, can install all of their needs of information. So this is they smart, they know how to figure it out, and now they can control every movement of every Chinese who's buying, I don't know, beer. Okay, if they allow beer, I don't know, maybe Chinese beer, but sorry, you know, they will shoot me, they will not shoot you. It's fine.
She joked.
There is some very good Chinese beer, though. I have drunk some. It's quite nice. The Chinese do a good beer.
So maybe they will buy Chinese, and then, you know, somebody will check it out in this computer and say, oh, okay, I will allow it this time, but you know, just once a day. So the interesting thing is to see whether different banks in the United States, in Russia, no, but Russia will probably get it. But you know, in Europe, if they will receive this currency as foreign currency in their banks, this is why it's going to be interesting.
So then I suppose that leads me to the next question. You know, when the internet was founded, or initially it was on these high-minded ideas of freedom, of accessibility of information, of transition of data around the world, and it has since become a tool of many a dictator, a surveillance state, or whatnot around the world. Is blockchain inevitably going to go down the same track? Are we all just going to be living under the boot heel of dictatorships and information controls in the future? Is that what blockchain will inevitably bring about?
I think that I always go back to, I think it was Einstein who said that he doesn't know how the Third World War would be fought with, but the fourth one would be fought with sticks and stones. And I think that we're only going to get away from our nature as humanity to being greedy and doing surveillance on one another and Big Brother after we have this big colossal disaster. Until then, blockchain, money, privacy, they're all going to be used and manipulated by governments. And I find myself sound like a maximalist. I'm really not, but I think that's reality. I think right now it's, you know, even you're talking about how Bitcoin is good for the SEC and for the IRS. It's right now it's used for surveillance more than anything else. More people are surveilling you with Bitcoin than transferring value.
Goldi, you're putting me into a depression right here. I don't know what to do with this. Please, Guy, you've got to have a glimmer of hope that we're not all going to end up just being watched and all this this whole industry we're in and involved in is not just the inevitable tool of dictators and surveillance states?
No, I think we are at a critical hour. I mean, I won't say we aren't, but I'm a bit more optimistic. I think there's actually a big movement towards privacy. I think people actually care about their data more. I think it's been talked about in the past few years, and if you look at the chart, it's like the interest around it is increasing, and I think we're going to get to a critical mass. And I think what companies and governments are getting away with right now, I don't think that's going to last. I think we're already at the tipping point. And I think then technology is like, zero knowledge proofs and other privacy preserving computing techniques would actually make a dent, and people would actually demand those once they're available.
Do you think there's enough awareness out there?
No,
from the
not
common,
yet, but I
common
think
person?
we're getting
You
there.
think we'll get there?
Yeah.
So that's the glimmer of hope I was looking for. Goldi,
You just hadn't had enough to drink, you too, Asher.
Maybe I'm too optimistic.
Well, the thing is about zero knowledge proof that in order to have it, you have to have knowledge. This is
someone
this
needs
is the
to have
begin.
knowledge, yes.
The zero knowledge proves you have to have the basic knowledge to have the zero knowledge solution at the first place. So the regulator is not there yet.
This is actually a great tool for regulators, though, right? Like I can prove to the regulator that I know something, that I have something, without actually giving more information. I'm limiting the surveillance.
But they need to know which type of information they need to have in order to have your tool. And they don't know it yet. They're figuring this right now as we speak, and Facebook are recording us.
Guy, do you think that ZKP, zero knowledge proof, would be replaced in China by ZKP MA? Like zero knowledge proof my ass? Or are they going to allow this?
That we're not joking about China.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. First rule
Forgot
of
himself
commenting
for a
about
moment.
China.
Yeah, he really
Too
let
much
loose
booze,
there.
I'm sorry.
The BLOCKTV beer is a dangerous beer.
Yes.
But all right, let's bring this conversation back to the sort of the here and now, rather than speculating to the grim future we'll all inevitably be in with our sticks and our stones. Do you think a move like this from a country like China can inspire other states in its orbit to begin to take the same sort of actions with digital currency? And then, for better or worse, can that spur a sort of introduction and greater acceptance of cryptocurrencies as a whole?
I don't really see digital currency of government bring to a border adoption or worldwide adoption. It may be for the people that has a fear of technology to learn how to deal with it, but it's not going to lead them to crypto. Libra can lead them to crypto. Chinese government or even digital dollar is not going to lead them to crypto.
Wait, but I don't know if Libra can lead the Chinese to crypto.
No,
they've
that's
specifically
probably
said they're not going to be using
yeah,
it.
it probably will be the WeChat currency.
Well, we'll have to see.
But then moving on from Big Brother is always watching us to the IRS, which is kind of a
Yeah,
different.
well, lucky we got past
Is
that.
it the better of two evils, really? Can we joke about this? But anyway, so the last month, the IRS, this was big news, sent out 10,000 letters to cryptocurrency holders targeting taxpayers who potentially failed to report income and ultimately pay those taxes. Out of the 3 letters sent out, the scariest is the one called 6173. It sounds uber scary, which requires immediate attention. Luckily, we have Or Lokay, who can obviously, our tax expert here, who can kind of break down what happens if people do not respond to this letter.
Well, first of all, there were several separate deliveries of this kind of letter, which the first one is tomorrow. It will be the end of the 30 days.
As in tomorrow, people have to respond. If they haven't, they're
if they haven't,
screwed.
they will be called to some investigation to see. They have 3 ways to. If they have failed to submit the reports, they just should have some liquid and file it. If they did file it but not correctly, they should fix it. They should correct it right now. But if they think they have perfectly done, they should just sign up some document statement saying they have full, true, and complete, correct report, and we'll send it to the IRS by tomorrow, hopefully, and then we'll see. My guess is that people will react to this letter. And we also know that yesterday IRS has sent a bunch of other letters called something with 2000, I don't remember, PC 2000, I think. This is the information coming from exchanges and payment system, 1099K that they will send the IRS every year. And there were lists of people that they were in this list and not submitting their reports, and they were received letter. They started to receive letter yesterday night, and hopefully, the thing about these kind of letter are pretty soft. They're just saying check out your stuff and see, because sometimes 1099K, especially in crypto, that a lot of people are not doing it yet, is not accurately. The 6173, this is, don't mess with them. Get an attorney.
Oh, that's the serious letter.
That is the serious letter. Get an attorney.
They're not just your pen pal.
No, that's not the soft
really
letter. That's
want
the
you
you
to
gotta
ask this
answer.
Everybody knows not to mess with the IRS. Those who got it
hope.
are already messing with the IRS.
I mean, John McAfee still hasn't paid his taxes, so he's getting away with it.
Yeah, for a decade. But or I have to ask Or a question. I know you're handling a lot of these letters for Americans, and what's the type of clients do you get? Are there like weird traders who's been in there from 2011 and they're spooked now, or is it like hedge funds?
Well,
who got these letters? Can I get that list for targeting on our next campaign?
If you have this list, please give it to me, because I only get who's coming. But first of all, the list is from Coinbase, biggest traders, because they were
traders,
yeah, because they were by the Supreme Court has to submit those names, and the IRS just went through this list, look at their computer, see who's filed and who's not. Probably a lot of them you can see since 2013, 2014. They're a bigger player. They own a lot of money. They're tax me if you can kind of people, you know them. So they have to report for the entire years and hope to be forgiven by the IRS.
So it's mostly retail, because I mean, hedge funds or big traders would usually not trade through Coinbase, right? I mean, they would go to other places. Maybe Coinbase Pro now.
Yeah, Coinbase Pro is the same as Coinbase as far as Americans.
So everyone's exposed.
Everyone has been left out there to hang. But now to kind of open this up to, now that the IRS have kind of sent out these letters, are we expecting, or do you think that we can expect new regulations for crypto in that regard? Guy?
I mean, I don't know. It's taken them quite a long. So I think the last time they gave any kind of clarity was in 2014. Was
2014.
It? Yeah, and right now they're sending letters before they give more clarity. So like I wouldn't be too optimistic. I would actually be more optimistic about people like Or and what they're building. I think that's like extremely needed right now. So around April 15, my Twitter feed was like filled with like frustrated people who are like, man, I have no idea how to deal with this. Like, I don't know how to deal with my crypto taxes. I really want to do it, but there's no good way to do it.
So I really want to do it. That's a new one.
I've seen quite a few. And that includes like people with like, hundreds of thousands of followers saying, I really want to get this right. I've been spending weeks on it. There's no good way to do it. Can someone help?
It's exhausting. It's a lot of data. It's a lot of data to collect. This is the problem, especially with big traders. There's a lot of data to collect, but you have the ways now, just to import the data to the system, and then to have a full and accurate report. But the thing with the IRS, that around this time, congressmen from both sides has issued to the IRS letter saying we need clarification tell us how to report. And the IRS in the middle of May response, I get you what you're saying. We will soon be issue a clarification. This was in the middle of May. Since then, they had submitted this letter, so don't mess with us, even though we
Is that the clarification? In clarification, don't mess with us.
The clarification.
You know what we're
don't
saying.
mess with us and report.
Response.
Even if you don't have the specific for clarification, but there is the 2014. This is very, this is true. You have some issues that they need to say exactly what to do, but you know how to submit your taxes. Please, you know how to report it. If you don't want to do it, you have a lot of services to do it for you. If you don't want to do it, then expect a letter in your mailbox. This is the way it goes.
But then also bringing it into the very hyped up, buzzy question that everybody likes to ask, even though we all hate the IRS, we hate taxes, is this kind of a way to mass adoption? Goldi.
What, paying taxes? And
Well,
where's the mass adoption?
being taxed, because
Being
you even
taxed?
before, I think when we were talking about New Zealand, I believe it was you that said kind of the IRS and tax departments are kind of, they lead the
They're
initiative
the
because they want to
first,
get their money.
yeah.
So is this the way?
I actually, you're actually spot on. I think that once everyone feels comfortable on a state level, and this is from the IRS to the CFTC and SEC, and it brings us back to then your ETF would be approved. Because how can people pay even taxes for the ETF if the IRS doesn't know how to calculate, I don't know, taxes all around for Bitcoin? So yes, it's a good step forward. Not for these 10,000 people, obviously. Yes, for Or's company, which I hope you did a massive campaign for these 10,000 people saying we can save your ass from the IRS.
This is a good one.
I know, I'm great at copy. You should see my China campaigns. But anyway, but I actually think it's a good thing, seriously, because it will teach the masses that you can trade crypto and you can pay taxes. It's fine. So don't be afraid, trade crypto.
All and then thoughts, mass adoption, is this the way?
Mass adoption has to go through regulation, whether it is the SEC, whether it is the Congress, the Senate. There has to be legitimate legislation for it, because you cannot just go on and relying on old rules that does not fit the new technologies, and it has to go through regulation. Otherwise, the market is suffocating. You cannot do anything without the regulation.
Guy, mass adoption
I'm
or
not
just
sure.
taxing?
I'm thinking about my, my 60 years old American uncle who's like looking at those articles, and he's like, no, if I buy Bitcoin, I'm gonna get in trouble with the IRS. So I'm not sure.
I'd like to thank you all very much, our panelists. We have, of course, Guy Zyskind, founder of and CEO of Enigma, Or Lokay, Vice President of BitTax, and Goldi, our resident share CEO at First Digital Assets Group.
Guys, thanks so much for being here with us, and stay with us at blocktv.com for all the latest news, information, sheep, China, no jokes, we promise, and all the best information. And come back, tune in next week for Blockchain and Booze. Will be more drinking, more talking, more relaxing. I'm Ashley Westrup Evans. This is Aran Spitzer. Thanks for watching.
For more news and updates, follow us on Twitter.